Last Sunday, I turned 103. This morning, I opened my own curtains, chose my own clothes, and cooked breakfast beneath the same kitchen light I have switched on for 46 years. Age has not passed me by. My knees complain. I need glasses for medicine labels. And when I drop something, I decide whether I truly need it back. But I still decide when I get up what goes on my plate and where I sleep at night. 24 years ago, none of that felt certain. My doctor stopped calling my blood sugar a warning. I was tired after meals, thirsty at night, and waking with blurred vision. Then my family began using the word safe. Maybe I should stop driving or live somewhere with help. They meant well, but every time they said safe, I heard someone else deciding how the rest of my life would look. So I began with my kitchen. I built my meals around 10 inexpensive foods, doing 3 simple jobs. I will show you how I use them while tracking my readings with my doctor. But there is an 11th thing that cannot be bought in a grocery store. Without it, I doubt I would have followed this routine for 24 years. Before we reach it, you need to know why remaining in this house mattered so much to me. It began with my younger brother Walter and one ordinary request he made after he could no longer go home. Walter was 4 years younger and twice as stubborn. He repaired farm equipment and believed anything short of a broken bone could wait until Monday. Diabetes did not take his independence at once. It began with numb toes and a blister he did not feel. Then his balance failed. He stopped driving and fell twice in one winter. Eventually, his children moved him into assisted living. The nurses were kind and his room was warm, but neither made it home. One afternoon, Walter asked me to bring the old radio from his garage. Its dial was cracked, but he had listened to baseball on it for nearly 30 years. When I set it beside his bed, he rested one hand on it. "Evie," he said, "I never knew how many small things belonged to me until other people had to bring them." I carried that sentence home. So when Dr. Samuel Reed told me I had type 2 diabetes, I did not hear the diagnosis first. I saw Walter waiting for someone else to bring him a piece of his own life. Dr. Reed offered no miracle. Food would not erase the disease or replace my medicine. He told me to take every pill, check my glucose, and record 7 honest days of meals. When I returned, he studied my notebook, turned my laboratory report over, and drew a row of houses on the back. That drawing was the first explanation of diabetes I could remember after leaving the doctor's office. Dr. Reed pointed to the houses. "These are your cells," he said. "They need glucose for energy, but glucose must get through the door. He drew a road covered with little boxes. They were glucose traveling through my bloodstream. Insulin was the key, helping open the doors so the boxes could be carried inside and used. With type 2 diabetes, the locks do not respond to insulin as well as they should. The pancreas tries to compensate, but eventually, deliveries arrive faster than the body can put them away. Glucose begins piling up on the road. The picture was simplified, but it gave every meal 3 jobs. First, slow the deliveries so too much did not arrive at once. Second, combine fiber protein and healthier fats into meals my body could handle more steadily. Third, protect the road, the heart, blood vessels, nerves, eyes, and kidneys that high blood sugar can harm over time. I stopped searching for one magical ingredient. What mattered was how foods worked together, how much I ate, and what they replaced. Dr. Reed circled the first entries in my notebook: toast, jam, sweetened, coffee, and juice. We will begin, he said, with the meal that chases you for the rest of the day. He meant breakfast. For most of my life, I believed toast with jam, sweetened coffee, and orange juice made a sensible breakfast. By mid-morning, I felt hollow and unsteady. I blamed age. 8 crackers or something sweet felt better, briefly, and began the cycle again. Dr. Reed did not ask me to skip breakfast. He asked me to rebuild it. Food number 1 was whole eggs. I began with 2 boiled or softly scrambled with leftover vegetables. Eggs added protein without much carbohydrate, but their main job was replacing my toast and jam. Food number 2 was berries. A small handful of blueberries or raspberries gave me sweetness in a visible portion. Unlike juice, whole berries still brought fiber. My basic breakfast became 2 eggs, a small serving of berries, and coffee without the spoonfuls of sugar I had pretended did not count. I did not wake up cured. The first change was simpler. I stopped prowling through the kitchen before lunch. My hands felt steadier, and the rise on my meter after breakfast became less dramatic. After 2 weeks, Dr. Reed studied the pattern and said, "This is the direction we want." My granddaughter Nora persuaded me to record this. She says, "If these kitchen lessons help you, subscribing tells us to keep the camera out." But breakfast only steadied the first part of my day. The next 3 foods changed lunch and supper, including 1 carbohydrate I had been told to fear. Food number 3 was steel-cut oats. I had begun treating every carbohydrate as though it were identical. Dr. Reed showed me that the form and portion mattered. Plain steel-cut oats were not instant oatmeal filled with sugar. Their soluble fiber created a slower, more satisfying breakfast. I kept the serving modest, skipped the brown sugar, and added a few berries. Food number 4 was lentils. Lentils contain starch, but they also bring fiber and plant protein. That made them the food that changed my argument with carbohydrates. I replaced part of my white rice or noodles with lentils. In winter, I made soup. In warm weather, I ate them cold with vegetables and olive oil. I began with roughly half a cup cooked and watched my own response. Your portion medicine and the rest of your meal all matter. My notebook taught me more than guessing ever did. Food number 5 was ground flaxseed. The word ground matters because whole seeds may pass through intact. I stirred a small spoonful into yogurt or oatmeal for fiber and fullness. I also learned not to become enthusiastic too quickly. Increasing fiber overnight can make the stomach miserable. I started small, increased gradually, and drank enough water. Oats, lentils, and flaxseed did not close the delivery road. They helped keep every truck from arriving at once. After several weeks, my readings formed a calmer pattern. Then the improvement slowed. Dr. Reed examined my notebook and asked, "What do you keep beside the salt?" The next 2 tools were already in my kitchen. Because they looked harmless, they were also the easiest ones to misuse. Beside my salt was cinnamon. I had used it mostly in pies. Dr. Reed suggested a small amount to make food pleasant without adding sugar. Common cassia cinnamon contains more coumarin, which can be a concern in large regular amounts, particularly with liver problems. Ceylon cinnamon contains much less. I bought a jar labeled Ceylon and used a small sprinkle in oatmeal, plain yogurt, or coffee. I treated it as seasoning, not medicine. Research suggests cinnamon may offer modest help for some people, but it does not replace medication, movement, or a balanced meal. Food number 7, or perhaps kitchen tool number 7, was diluted vinegar. Dr. Reed said vinegar with a carbohydrate-containing meal may soften the rise for some people. I tried a small amount in water or salad dressing, never straight. Vinegar can irritate the throat, worsen reflux, upset the stomach, and damage tooth enamel when used carelessly. It is not appropriate for everyone. If you use insulin or medicine that can cause low blood sugar, changing your diet may change how your treatment affects you. A dangerous low is an emergency, not a victory. I never changed a pill because of 1 meter reading. I recorded the pattern and brought it to Dr. Reed. He decided whether my treatment needed adjustment. Take your own list to the person managing your diabetes. Change one thing at a time and let them help you watch the results. That partnership kept my experiment from becoming a gamble. The final 3 foods did not produce exciting overnight readings. They were chosen for the longer road. Food number 8 was canned salmon. Fresh salmon was not in my weekly budget. Canned salmon cost less and provided protein and omega-3 fats, supporting the heart and blood vessels. I mixed it with celery and plain yogurt or made a simple salmon patty. Its important job was replacing processed meat or a supper built mostly around refined starch. Food number 9 was walnuts. My old afternoon snack was crackers or cookies. I replaced it with a small handful of plain walnuts. I divided them into containers instead of eating from the bag. Walnuts are nourishing, but the portion still counts. And the candied kind, unfortunately, remains candy. Food number 10 was frozen broccoli. There is nothing fashionable about frozen broccoli. It is inexpensive, available all year, and does not spoil while I wait for the ambition to cook. I added it to eggs, soup, and evening meals. Filling more of my plate with a non-starchy vegetable meant I did not need such a large mound of potatoes, rice, or noodles to feel satisfied. That was the list: eggs and berries to rebuild breakfast, oats, lentils, and flaxseed to slow meals down, cinnamon and vinegar used carefully, salmon, walnuts, and broccoli for the longer road. 10 foods, but no miracles. I introduced them gradually, recorded what happened, and kept taking my medicine. What surprised me was the order of the changes. My meter was not the first thing to improve. My ordinary days were. The first week, I changed breakfast and recorded my hunger energy in readings. Next came lentils and broccoli, then oats, flaxseed, salmon, and walnuts. Cinnamon and vinegar came last, separately. The first result was not a perfect number. I stopped crashing before lunch. I cooked more often because my meals had a simple plan. My afternoon naps shortened and I walked to the mailbox more consistently. Then my readings began showing a steadier pattern. Not every day improved. Illness, poor sleep, stress, and larger portions still appeared in my notebook. Dr. Reed taught me to judge the trend across weeks instead of treating one high reading as failure or one low reading as success. 4 months after we started, Dr. Reed decided the second medicine he had been considering was not needed at that time. Much later, after reviewing months of records, he adjusted my existing treatment. He made those decisions, not me. The foods did not replace my care. They helped me participate in it more consistently. I still have diabetes, attend appointments, take prescribed medicine, and have my eyes, kidneys, and feet checked. My targets are personal because avoiding a dangerous low matters too. That is why I will not give you a magical number or promise that your road will match mine. But I can tell you, this building meals I could repeat gave me more stable days, and stable days made independence easier to protect. Still, food was not the reason I repeated those choices for 24 years. That was the 11th thing. The 11th thing was being expected. After I retired and Walter died, my days lost their edges. I stayed in bed, skipped meals, and ate over the sink. Nobody needed me at a particular hour, so the hours stopped mattering. Then the local library called. They needed someone to call homebound readers and ask which books they wanted delivered. I agreed to telephone 3 people every Wednesday. 3 calls became 6. Soon I kept a notebook of mysteries, westerns, romances, and large print books. People began waiting for my voice. One woman named Margaret always asked for travel books. She could no longer travel, she told me, but she could still choose where her mind went next. Every Wednesday, she asked where I had been walking and whether I had eaten breakfast. I thought I was checking on her. In truth, she was checking on me. That changed the mechanics of my week. Being expected got me out of bed. A schedule kept me eating, moving, taking my medicine, and checking my glucose on time. Purpose did not cure my diabetes. It gave me a reason to keep doing the ordinary things that helped me manage it. I found 2 other places to put down weight I had carried too long. The first was quiet. For me, it was prayer beside my coffee. For you, it may be meditation music or walking beneath old trees. It did not lower my meter magically. It kept every fear from following me to bed. The second was reconciliation. In my 80s, I called a cousin I had avoided for years and apologized for my part. I also forgave someone no longer alive, speaking the words in my garden because I needed to hear them. I cannot prove what forgiveness did to my blood work. I know what resentment did to my sleep, my appetite, and my willingness to care for myself. Food gave my body a plan. Peace made the plan easier to follow. Being expected gave me a reason to follow it tomorrow. That was the 11th thing, and it cost nothing. Tomorrow morning, I will switch on my kitchen light again. I will cook 2 eggs, add berries, take my medicine, and continue living inside a body that is old, imperfect, and still mine to care for. I did not defeat age, and 10 foods did not erase diabetes. They gave me a practical pattern I could discuss with my doctor and repeat without making every meal a punishment. If your readings frighten you, do not change everything tonight. Choose one reasonable step. Record what happens and bring that record to your healthcare team. Let them help you make it safe. Then find someone who expects something good from you. Call a neighbor, carry soup to a friend, or teach a grandchild one recipe. Being useful is not medicine, but it can give you a reason to care for the life around it. In the comments, tell Nora and me your age, where you are watching from, and which breakfast keeps you steady through the morning. Your answers help us decide what to record next. At 103, I still like knowing someone expects my kitchen light to come on. Tomorrow morning, I hope yours does 2.